Hey, welcome to Friday. Mr. H here with you on planet Earth. We got history, we got dinosaurs, we got football. What else do you need, man? I guess some cookies would be nice too, but that's okay. We're going to have fun anyway. Hey, today is August the 9th. It's always been a big day on Mr. H's calendar because back in 2008, I was watching the news, CNN, and I saw live the Russian invasion of Georgia. Granted, some Russian troops had slipped over the border surreptitiously 2 days earlier, but then the big invasion came on August the 9th, and I was there watching it live on TV. What a wondrous era we live in. But the important thing about that day is that's the day I decided to get off my glutamus maximus and go off and get one of what would be two master's degrees. It was a pretty interesting journey. It all started that day. I went over to Walmart and bought two notebooks. Yep, it all started from there up to this very moment. Great things have small beginnings. Now, Georgia's over there in the Caucasus Mountains. Why does Russia care about it? Down there in the Caucasus Mountains, you can see it's extremely fragmented. Right, here's the border. And notice all these other fragmented, they're not provinces, not states. Russia likes to call them oblasts. And these areas up here are mainly Muslim. It's very mountainous. They're always fighting with each other. It's a very unstable area unless the Russians there are putting their hands down on it. So Russia's always been interested in it. They're also interested in what's on the other side of the border. Because if something is unstable on the other side of the border, it's going to spread to these areas and it spreads over to Russia. As you can see, Georgia is right here, right? All these former Soviet republics. This is Georgia, which is Orthodox, by the way. That's important. Russia's Orthodox. Armenia is Orthodox. Azerbaijan is Muslim. And you can see they got this extraterritorial area over here. That's always a problem. That's some other problem, though. So Georgia over here has its own issues. This place is so fragmented, even the fragments have fragments. We have South Ossetia. All right, there's a North Ossetia, South Ossetia. South Ossetia belongs to Georgia. South Ossetia is not interested in becoming part of a greater Ossetia. South Ossetia wants to be independent and free from Georgia and North Ossetia. Yeah, that's how complicated this place is. And to make it even more complicated, we got Uzbekistan over here. So anything that happens on that side of the border, Russia's pretty interested in. Because if it goes crazy here, it's going to get crazy there. And if it gets crazy there, it just keeps spreading northward. Dagestan, another Muslim area that's giving Russia headaches. Of course, you all know about Chechnya, right? Now, again, the Caucasus Mountains. Why does this really matter to Georgia? If Caucasus gets crazy, why does it matter to Russia? Because we back up and you see something else. See these mountains? Right? Now, if this area goes crazy, as it has a tendency to do, and everything gets loose and instability starts to spread, it goes northward, and look at this. Open ground over here. Any attacker can come right over this ground and there's nothing to stop it. If it goes crazy, we have an attacker coming up out of the south, they got the mountains here to stop it. And if they get through the mountains, they've been attrited, right, worn down, and then, the Russians can hit them on open ground somewhere. But the idea is to hit them in the mountains before they get to the open ground. And look at this, we got the Black Sea over here. Now, before they took Crimea, you can see Russia's access to the Black Sea was, kind of narrowed. They took Crimea, got the main port over here. So if they lose total control or somebody unfriendly is here, yeah, once again, we've got problems with the Black Sea access. Here's Sochi. That's the vacation spot, too. It's kind of Russia's Florida. You don't want to lose control of that, right? Could they build another port here? I guess they could, but that'd be very expensive. If they were to lose control of this area, could they make an arbitrary border across here, a straight line? Sure, you could do it, but it costs a lot of money. Hook it in here to Kuban River if I were them. But they didn't ask me. So this is why Russia is interested in what goes on in the Caucasus. Now, a lot of people ask, did Georgia really start this? The official line coming from Russia was that Georgia was attacking the South Ossetians and over on the other area near the Black Sea. Georgia was also talking about joining NATO, which is something the Russians didn't want. When the war started, the 1st Brigade, Georgia's best soldiers, 2,000 strong, were in Iraq doing peacekeeping duties. So they weren't there when the Russians invaded. When the Russians came through, as you can see, they didn't really meet a lot of resistance. So some people started, it doesn't sound like Georgia really started this. On the other hand, maybe Georgia didn't expect Russia to come in, right? It's one thing when you're chasing a South Ossetian militia around. It's another thing when a nuclear armed superpower decides to stick his nose in it. That's one argument. Here's another argument. Remember how I told you that Georgia was thinking about joining NATO? Yeah, Russia doesn't like having NATO on its border. This is a historic Russian a Russian annoyance. They don't like having a major power on their border. You know how they have a history of being invaded, right? So Russia tends to be somewhat xenophobic at times, and they don't like a huge power on their border. Georgia's one thing. We don't want them becoming part of NATO. Now, why are they worried about NATO? NATO is a defensive alliance, so why be afraid? Well, if you look at 1989 when the Warsaw Pact fell apart, this was NATO. All right, fast forward to 2022 and look at this. They've suddenly ramped up on the border over here. Russia would like to know, why is this alliance coming straight at them? Remember, they don't like anybody coming from that direction. This is kind of why they reacted the way they did to Ukraine. This is why they grabbed the Crimea. If a lot of people in NATO were using the Russian seizure of Crimea to scream, the Russians are coming, the Russians are coming, I'm not buying it because they have trouble in Ukraine. I don't think they're going to invade Europe. NATO is a defensive alliance, so the Russians are wondering why is it apparently aimed at them. So, like I said, it goes both ways. Just need people to sit down and have a beer and talk it over. But I don't know what's going on, right? That starts another conflict, beer versus vodka. Hey, let's talk about something nicer, right? Something that really makes you feel a lot better instead of imminent international disasters. Elasmosaurus, what's this thing all about? Yeah, look at that really long neck. That difference between Elasmosaurus and plesiosaurus, right? People get them confused. They kind of look the same. It is that extremely long neck. Very big animal, 42 feet long, but it's in the water. So, all the weight is, it doesn't have to fight against gravity. In fact, the water makes it stronger because pushing through the water is harder than going through air. So Elasmosaurus like to swim around in the Cretaceous period, 95 million years ago till the end, when the asteroid hits, eats fish mainly and anything else, maybe smaller marine mammals and animals, I should say reptiles, but not the apex predator, but it's up there. It's up there. And I got that long neck, so a lot of people theorize it could also come up on the coastline, up on the beach somewhere, and reach over and grab somebody who thinks it's too far away. Don't think it's a freshwater animal, but they have found fossils in Morocco that seem to indicate that it would swim up estuaries. Here's the guy we have to thank for discovering him. Yeah, Cope Edward Drinker from Philadelphia. I like this guy because, he's a self-taught paleontologist who doesn't like bureaucrats or politics. Where have we seen that before? Yeah. He discovered Elasmosaurus, and he found it in Kansas. Yeah, remember the Western Interior Seaway? Yep, Kansas used to be in the middle of the ocean. Was one time before, maybe again one day, who knows? Well, check back in about 300 million years or so. Even he didn't get it right the first time. When he first found the remains of Elasmosaurus and described them, he described them wrong. In the 1860s, that's when he discovered it, as you probably can tell by the photograph there. It had a mosasaur kind of look to it with a really long tail. Why the tail? Because no one could believe something would have a neck that long. On land, it would be a problem. In the water, not really. And, of course, excuse me again, when they began to look at the skull a little bit closer, no way those vertebrae can support a skull like this. It's just not going to happen, man. So it had to be a small skull. Excuse me. Long skull there, a long neck, has support a small head. Made a lot more sense. But like you said, nobody gets it right the first time. Like I said, even look at the skeleton. They take a picture of the skeleton and look how long this neck is. They had to bend it so they can get it in the picture. Again, look at that skull, right? No way a mosasaur type skull goes on the end of this neck. But still, very maneuverable animal. I mean, I've actually seen small tests where they have a clay model of something like this. And you got those 4 flippers. You can just maneuver all over. It looks like an F-22 fighter. That long neck, so you can just cruise around wherever it wants. That neck reaches out and grabs things. The way the teeth are set up. Oh, if you're a fish, this thing's over, man. This thing is all over you. Found some old school paleo art once they kind of figured out sort of what it looked like. lot of people thought it lived in estuaries too. It's more of a seagoing animal, but I'm not going to rule it. I mean, bull sharks can go upriver as far as Iowa, and great white sharks can operate in fresh water, though they don't like it very much. So, why not Elasmosaurus? I have no idea what this thing is. It's kangaroo, reptilian kangaroo, and ditto for this. What is this thing supposed to be exactly? And is that Elasmosaurus, that his friend over there? It's a snake. I don't know what's going on. This is probably Elasmosaurus. Don't know what that's going on back there. But hey, paleo art, never dull. I think this is the best picture right here. This is definitely what it looked like. Got that long neck. You see how the teeth stick out of the jaws. Great for grabbing fish and hanging on to it. Got the flippers. Very maneuverable animal. Not the apex predator near the top, but if Mosasaurus shows up, sorry Elasmosaurus, you're coming in second in that race. All right, preseason begins. Got my Steelers and the Houston Texans coming to town. Just a preseason game, doesn't really mean a lot. But this year, the Steelers have revamped their team. The team we have now is not the team from last year. And the team that's going to emerge on the other side of this preseason might not be the team you're looking at tonight. So I usually don't watch preseason games that much, but I might end up watching this one. They got a lot of new players out there. Some of these people you might not recognize. They still got, Harris there as a running back. So this is going to be an interesting game. A little bit more interesting preseason games usually are. Who wins doesn't matter. Just see who can do what, and hopefully nobody gets injured. Who's got the headlines? Always the quarterback. Quarterback always gets the headlines, right? It annoys an old defense guy like me. But nonetheless, we have Russell Wilson, who's been playing. He played 1 year in Seattle, played in Denver forever. I think he got injured at Gettysburg or something. I'm not sure. And then we got Justin Fields. So a lot of people think Wilson, back end of his career, probably start this year, pass on his knowledge over to Justin Fields. And we'll see where it goes from there. Justin Fields is about the prime of his career. Just came over from the Bears. Only one way to find out if this works in full game conditions. But, preseason games can be unpredictable sometimes. Ask Trent Green and Kurt Warner. Remember Trent Green got injured in a preseason game and he got destroyed. Here comes Kurt Warner and takes the Rams to the Super Bowl. Yeah. Number 3 guy is Kyle Allen. Yeah, remember him in the Bills and a whole bunch of other places? Somehow he drifted over to Pittsburgh. Got quite a lengthy resume, but, a lot of experience still. You never know sometimes, like I said, with preseason games. And look who's on our 4th string. Right, John Reese Plumlee. Who is John Reese Plumlee? A lot of people don't really know who this guy is. I barely am aware who this guy is. He's our 4th string quarterback. I bring this up because the Steelers are one of those teams that quite often have 4 quarterbacks on their depth charts. Not all the time, but sometimes they see somebody promising, they hang on to him for a while. Even if he's not on that team, he might end up on the practice squad and keep him around. And if you are in preseason, regardless of whatever league you're in, whether it's NFL, CFL, Arena, UFL, Canada, European League of Football, wherever you are, remember, even if you don't make this team, they've got footage on you, they got film on you, the coaches know who you are. Hey, they all know each other, man. So if you don't make it on this team, they might know somebody on another team. Keep that in mind if you're trying out. Some thoughts here on the 2024 season before we run out of here screaming. This thing with the Guardian caps here. All right, I don't care if you wear them at practice. Fine. Actually, most injuries actually happen at practice, right? But they talk about you could actually wear them in games. Don't wear them in games. All right. I mean, yeah, if one, it looks kind of stupid. It makes you top heavy. People say, but it's for safety. It's for safety. It's CTE. Okay, I'm going to let you a little bit of a secret here, man. It's a risky game, okay? That's why you got pads. That's why you got a helmet. That's why you train. If you're too scared to walk out on the field, you don't need to be there. All right? So if you're thinking about wearing this thing all the time, you don't need to be there, man. Okay? Mr. H here giving his opinion. If it sounds cruel, a little bit old school, yeah, well, that's how I felt. Now, this XFL kickoff thing you're thinking about using. I like this. I liked it when I saw it in the XFL. I like it when I see it in NFL Europe. The reason I like this is because there's one thing I can't stand, all right, is that I see the Steelers score a touchdown, and you get 1,000 commercials. Then they kick the extra point. You got 1,000 commercials. All right. Then they have the kickoff, which is always 30 feet over the returner's head to the back of the end zone. Another 1,000 commercials. At least with this XFL style kickoff, they got to bring the ball out. You've made the kickoff. part of the game again. So I really do like this thing. I actually applaud this change. I think it's something they should keep permanently. Say it's a 1-year trial period. We'll see how it goes. But I think it's really something that will really help the game. It's a really good idea. Now, if they go back to the old school NFL kickoffs, you can buy my book, Heaven Still, off Lulu.com and all the other places. So when you can read it during the 1,000-some-odd commercials and probably get through a chapter or two. Your cat will enjoy sitting on it. But hey, you will enjoy reading it too. You've got up-close battles. You got decisive action. It's just like driving down Carson Street, and it will not affect your auto insurance. You guys have yourself a fantastic day. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Point out my many, many errors down there in the comments, and maybe, just maybe, the world won't end by tomorrow and we'll get to see the Steelers in action. Have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Das vidanya.